What's going on, guys? Welcome back today to another video on AJ's Yard. And guys, today we are currently 3-0. The Niners are currently 3-0, and there is so much surrounding that, as in there's good news and there's also bad news. As I'm sure most of you have already heard, the bad news, which came in last night about Nick Bosa. We'll eventually get to that, but yeah, that will take everything as it is, and let's start all the way from the top, where we had week 2 against the Saints, and that was a great game. And I see this constant thing that we have the easiest schedule in the league. The Niners games have been fights, and they've been dog fights. They've been extremely physical, and there's that saying that there's not a game in the NFL that's a given, right? Anything can happen. And yeah, the Niners have been fighting. Great week against the Saints, but now let's go in depth a little bit. Just a quick rundown on what the Cardinals game looked like. Let's talk first about Michael Williams and how much of an impact he's had on that defensive line. I mean, he looked good out there. You combo that with Bryce Huff and his incredible speed, and just being able to he closed out the first Cardinals drive, I'm pretty sure, with getting Murray in the pocket. D. Winters is relatively new still, but he has been a stud. I mean, James Conner was going for it in the end zone, I think on a low wheel route, and D. Winters, linebacker, just ran up on him, broke that up. Beautiful play by D. Winters. We also, of course, have the staple Fred Warner, and yeah, I think there was a point, I think it was 3rd and 1 for the Cards. They did not get it because Fred saw I think it was a run all the way. He saw the play like a mile away and stopped it, and then taunted the special teams to come on, and he's just an absolute menace. Now, this is about the point in the game that Nick Bosa went out. I mean, he got up on his own power, and then he was fine. Like, my friend was saying he was fine. And then literally as my friend said that, he goes to give the thumbs down to presumably his family. And oh my God, I think there was some false positivity that, he didn't tear his ACL, after the Kyle Shanahan press conference after the game. But that is not true. An MRI scan needed to happen, and it happened yesterday. And while I was just walking outside, I get that news, and I'm like, oh man. So tributes and prayers to Nick Bosa. What an absolute stud. My heart goes out to him, because it kind of sucks. It really sucks. I'm not going to try to get too negative about it, but it really sucks. I think he was slated to have a really great year, and that defensive line benefited so much off of him and those rookies. Michael Williams, Alfred Collins, C.J. West, and Yatir Gross-Matos. Although that defensive line was getting the proper tutelage it needed, from Nick Bosa, and now that's not there anymore. I wish Nick Bosa the very best. 1 second. I wish Nick Bosa the very best. My first jersey I ever got. Nobody feels bad for you in this league, so yeah. Kind of going off the Nick Bosa situation, our defense is gonna have to come up with ways to pick up the slack, and it'll be interesting to see what Robert Saleh does. I think there's a lot of positivity still with this defense and what these rookies can do. So yeah, the defense is not gonna go all the way bad. It's just going to definitely take a little bit of a hit. Let's see what Robert Saleh does. Now, I haven't talked too much about this offense. In fact, it feels like the defense has kind of been the show on the Niners. But Mac Jones, man, kudos to you. That 2-minute drill, when all the game is on the line, it is very impressive that our backup quarterback can hold a 2-minute drill, kind of Kyle let him free up the playbook. It had been CMC pretty much all day long on just sort of checkdowns and routes run by him, but Kyle finally opened up the playbook and let Mac Jones do his thing. And I was so impressed getting Jake Tonjes, Kendrick Bourne involved, and kudos to Mac Jones and Kyle Shanahan. All right, guys, that's sort of, the news that's been going on. So I hope everyone's doing well as always, and take it easy, fam. Peace. Relatively new players. Sorry, I don't know what that was.